Justin Trudeau has done everything in his power to keep the truth of the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal from coming out. He has refused to call a public inquiry. He has shut down 2 parliamentary committee investigations into the scandal. He has changed his version of events, shifted blame onto others, and has been caught peddling phony excuses. And he has smeared, punished, and engaged in character assassination of those who tried to stand up to him and to speak the truth. But his attempts to suppress the facts and silence his critics don't end there. 1 week ago, I received a letter from a lawyer representing Justin Trudeau, threatening to sue me for my criticisms of his actions in the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal. You all have copies of that letter. Upon receiving Mr. Trudeau's letter, I immediately consulted with my legal team, and after careful consideration, I was advised that Mr. Trudeau's complaints were without merit. I stand by every single criticism I have made of Mr. Trudeau's conduct in regards to the scandal, including those Mr. Trudeau's lawyer cites in his letter. They are all based on the facts that have emerged from parliamentary testimony and irrefutable evidence presented by Jody Wilson-Raybould. Today, my lawyer has responded to Mr. Trudeau's threats, and you all have copies of that letter as well. If Mr. Trudeau intends to pursue this course of legal action, if he believes he has a case against me, I urge him to do so immediately. This is an urgent matter of public interest, and it deserves to be heard in a legal setting where Liberals do not control the proceedings. I welcome the opportunity to examine Mr. Trudeau in pretrial discovery at the earliest possible date. I look forward to Mr. Trudeau presenting his evidence to Canadians under oath in open court. And based on what I hear, I'm certain Canadians will welcome this as well. However, based on his monumental efforts over the last 2 months to keep all the facts of this matter from coming out, it is clear what this is. This is a blatant attempt to use, and some would say misuse, threats of legal action to stop me from fulfilling my constitutional duty as Leader of the Opposition to hold the government of the day to account on behalf of all Canadians. It is a further attempt to silence those who stand up to Justin Trudeau and who seek the truth. It hasn't worked so far, and it will not work now. Trudeau should know what he's getting into. He will face questioning under oath for hours so that we can get to the bottom of this. He will also have to produce documents that demonstrate his true motives in helping his corporate friends avoid consequences. I am confident in my case, and I will continue demanding the answers that Canadians deserve. Depuis environ 2 mois maintenant, Justin Trudeau
For approximately 2 months now, Justin Trudeau has done everything in his power to prevent the truth from coming out with regard to the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal. He has prevented the public inquiry from going forward. He put an end to 2 parliamentary committees investigating the matter. He changed his version of the facts. He tried to blame others, and then he had some fake excuses. He tried to smear and punish those who stood up to tell the truth. Yet, these attempts to put an end to the matter and silence his critics will not work. Last week, I received a letter from Justin Trudeau's legal representative threatening to take me to court with regard to what I have said about this matter. You have all received a copy of that letter. Upon the receipt of this letter from Justin Trudeau's lawyer, I immediately consulted my legal counsel, and I was advised that Mr. Trudeau's complaints have no foundation. I maintain each of these statements criticizing him for his behavior with regard to this scandal, particularly what Mr. Trudeau's lawyer has said in the letter. The facts that have emerged, the parliamentary testimony, and the irrefutable proof that has been put forward by Judy Wilson-Raybould is the basis for my comments. My lawyer has responded to the threats by Mr. Trudeau. You've all received a copy of the letter from my lawyer. If he wants to move forward with this complaint, I invite him to do so immediately. This is an urgent matter of public interest. It deserves to be heard in a legal setting where the Liberals will not control the setting. I would be delighted to have a pre-trial discovery with Trudeau. He would be under oath in a public hearing. I am convinced that Canadians will also be in favor of this based on what I've heard. They have used monumental efforts for the past 2 months to prevent anything from coming out. This is a clear attempt to use threats of legal proceedings to prevent me from doing my constitutional duty as leader of the opposition to ask the government to be accountable to all Canadians. This is another attempt to silence those who criticize Trudeau and who want the truth. That has not worked to date, and it will not work at all. Furthermore, Trudeau must understand what he is committing to. He will be questioned under oath for hours to ensure that we can shed light on this affair. He will also have to produce documents that will demonstrate his real intentions. I am convinced that my interpretation is the right one, and I will continue to request answers that Canadians deserve. Thank you very much.
We'll begin with Sean McCarthy, Globe and Mail.
Mr. Scheer, do you believe that the Prime Minister broke the law in the SNC-Lavalin affair?
I believe that Justin Trudeau led a campaign to politically interfere in an ongoing court process, in ongoing court proceedings, and we have, of course, asked the RCMP to investigate to determine if a crime was committed.
Monsieur Scheer, est-ce que vous pensez
Mr. Scheer, do you think this is a bluff by Trudeau? Do you think he'll go right to the end? We'll see. Right now, he has the opportunity to show that he's serious. If you really think there is justification to go to the courts, he should start immediately. And if he does not do that, then we can conclude that he has no intention of moving forward with this action. Well, you say there's corruption on corruption and a campaign of interference in the SNC-Lavalin affair. You say that he broke the law. And Ms. Wilson-Raybould said there was nothing illegal. So how can you say that he broke the law? Is there a foundation? I said there was corruption on corruption on corruption. And Ms. Wilson-Raybould's testimony demonstrated that Mr. Trudeau attempted to change her decision, even after she said she had made that decision, and that pressure was inappropriate. He continued. And we heard on the audio recording by Ms. Wilson-Raybould and Mr. Wernick, we heard that it was on Mr. Trudeau's direction that Mr. Wernick was attempting to pressure Ms. Wilson-Raybould and change that decision. After Ms. Wilson-Raybould said no, we saw there was this campaign to discredit MPs who tried to get to the bottom of the truth. That is why I said there is corruption on corruption on corruption, and I maintain what I have said.
Your deputy leader, Lisa Raitt, excuse me, following the testimony of Jody Wilson-Raybould the first time at committee, said that she believed every word she said. Would you agree with that, Karen?
I certainly know that between Jody Wilson-Raybould and Justin Trudeau, who I believe Jody Wilson-Raybould.
Why don't you believe her statement then that nothing illegal happened?
Well, that was her opinion on that, and of course we've asked the RCMP to conduct an investigation to determine whether or not laws were broken. No, as I said, we leave it to police officials, we leave it to prosecutors to determine whether or not illegalities took place, and that was why the Conservative Party and why I wrote the letter to the RCMP to call on them to investigate into the actions of the Prime Minister and the key officials that were named by Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Have you ever reached out to them on that?
I received a letter acknowledging my request.
Stephen Scheer with Reuters.
Right here. I was wondering why you felt compelled to release the letter that was sent to you today, and I also have a follow-up.
Well, because I believe this is an attempt to stifle criticism of Justin Trudeau. This is a bullying attempt to try to prevent me from doing my constitutional duty as leader of the opposition. And the reason why I feel strongly about making this public is, first of all, so that Canadians can see the type of tactics that Mr. Trudeau will engage in, but also to challenge him to follow through with it. So far, the Liberals have used their control of parliamentary committees to shut down investigations into this scandal. This now presents us with an opportunity, presents Canadians with an opportunity to have a legal proceeding that Liberals can't shut down, that they can't control, that they don't chair, that they can't outvote members of the opposition to shut down investigations. And it will be done under oath, where the officials, the people that were named by Jody Wilson-Raybould, including the Prime Minister himself, will have to testify under oath. That is something that we have been pushing for through other channels, and so now this provides us with an opportunity to get exactly that.
I'm new to Canada. I've only been here a week, so I wanted to ask, usually there's protection essentially from libel lawsuits in Parliament. My question is, why is this allowed? Is it because it was done outside of Parliament?
Yes, that's right.
Andy Bergeron, CTV.
What do you think it says about the Prime Minister's strategy in dealing with the fallout of the SNC-Lavalin scandal that he is now issuing you a libel notice?
Well, I think it speaks to a multifaceted campaign to silence those who speak out against him. We know that Ms. Wilson-Raybould and Dr. Philpott were kicked out of caucus for the sole crime of telling the truth. To the Liberals, that is unforgivable if it causes damage to their leader. Ms. Wilson-Raybould and Dr. Philpott put a higher value on the truth than protecting Justin Trudeau's reputation. This, to me, is just another example of Justin Trudeau trying to use the tools at his disposal to silence critics and to bully those who speak out against him. So we will not allow that to happen. We will defend ourselves, and I will defend myself vigorously on this.
Are you aware of any other similar letter that has been sent to any members of your caucus or even NDP under the Prime Minister Trudeau's government? Not
at this particular time, no.
Olivia from CBC.
Mr. Scheer, do you honestly believe everything that you've publicly stated about the Prime Minister would hold up in court?
Absolutely. I believe that it's based on fair comment, based on evidence that is before the Canadian people, that is publicly before the Canadian people, that has been testified by people that had firsthand knowledge of this scandal.
Can you share with us your next steps with your Commons strategy?
With our Commons strategy? Well, in the House of Commons. So you'll know that on Tuesday, the Ethics Committee will meet, and it is our hope that the Liberal members of that committee who voted to shut down that investigation under the pretext that it was premature because Ms. Wilson-Raybould had not yet provided further documents to the Justice Committee, that they will be true to their word and allow the Ethics Committee to conduct its own investigation. That is the call to action that we are challenging those Liberal MPs to stay true to their word. We'll find out on Tuesday if they are going to be faithful to what they said, or if they too will bow to pressure from Justin Trudeau and his office.
Monsieur Scheer, je voudrais vous relancer sur une question d'un collègue.
I would like to ask, like a colleague did ask, do you believe that Mr. Trudeau broke the law? It's clear to me that this is the case. I maintain what I said. Everything that I said is based on the evidence that is before Canadians. It is based on the testimony that we saw and heard. Mr. Trudeau led a campaign to attempt to interfere in a criminal case. It's Mr. Trudeau who said that things weren't true, that he changed his story. He gave one reason after another, a different one every week, and he forgot what he said. He said that Ms. Wilson-Raybould never raised these concerns with himself. We now know that she did, and that Mr. Trudeau has admitted that she did do this. He admitted it last week in the House of Commons. I wrote a letter to the RCMP to ask for an investigation to determine the foundation for beginning a criminal investigation. Won't it be up to the police to do that, to investigate his behavior? That's why we asked the RCMP to do it. Inaudible for the interpreter. As I said, I maintain everything I have said. It is clear, based on the testimony given by Ms. Wilson-Raybould, the recordings, the notes, even Mr. Trudeau's own admissions, there was a campaign with the goal of interfering in a criminal case. And when Ms. Wilson-Raybould said to the Prime Minister and to the Clerk of the Privy Council that it was inappropriate, that she did not want to change her decision or interfere, he lost his...
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.